Welcome to Lesson 1, which is about humanities and art. In this lesson, we will define and know about the origin of the word humanities, its difference from social sciences, and we will also discuss what humanities is in academics. After that portion, we will be discussing art, its definitions, the levels of appreciation of art, the artistic process and its elements, the subjects and factors affecting choice of subject, the artistic representations, and of course, the types of art. The word humanities is from the Latin word humanus, which means human, cultured, and refined. A being is considered a human if he, she, or they have human tendencies, norms, and have the ability to adapt to an environment. To be human means the ability to show qualities like rationality, kindness, and tenderness. Means we are able to identify which is right from wrong, which is moral and which is not, which is ethical and which is not. Because we have these faculties that can be considered as advanced compared to other species. We are also refined. It means that we have the ability to change and to improve our ways to exemplify good taste. We are also cultured, which means that we have learned ways in a civilized society. Culture includes speech, knowledge, beliefs, arts, technologies, ideals, and social rules. Now, why is it important to study humanities? Okay, through the exploration of humanities, we are able to learn how to think creatively and critically. We are also able to reason and to ask questions better. These skills allow us to gain new insights into everything from poetry and paintings to business models, politics, humanistic subjects, and so on and so forth. Through humanities, we are able to understand better what it is to be human. Okay, so it adds to our knowledge about our world. Okay, now, so let's differentiate social science and humanities. Technically speaking, the social sciences focus on subjects like psychology, economics, and history. On the other hand, humanities explore philosophy, languages, literature, and the arts. Okay, what else? For you to better understand the difference between the two, social sciences attempt to see human beings in the mass, in groups, as subjects for generalizations, their behavior being a fit subject for prediction. On the other hand, humanities is more concerned with the individual and especially with unique creations of the individual imagination, which we call works of art. Through the study of the different art forms, we delve into areas in which human values and individual expressiveness are celebrated. The humanities are about what it is to be human. By looking at these forms, We will be able to understand others in the world through their, for example, languages, their histories and cultures, and how they foster social justice and equality during their time. By studying these forms as well, they will somehow reveal to us how people have tried to make moral, spiritual, and even intellectual sense of the world where they live in. Okay? And through the study of these forms, we can also be able to um, understand how the human mind works, and through those guidelines, they can help us, or they can teach us to weigh evidence skeptically. Okay, they can teach us how to critically and logically look into imperfect information, and so on and so forth. Okay, without the study of these evidence that prove humanity, we won't be able to have, for example, democracy. Okay, we wouldn't be living in cultured societies. Okay, we won't have social justice. We won't be crying out for equality, and so on and so forth. Okay, I hope that you get those things. Okay, through humanities, through the study of these different forms, we will be able to understand others as well as ourselves. And now we move on to the next portion of this lecture. Let us define the word art. Now, please take note that there is no universally accepted definition of the word art. Okay, what we know though is that it's from the Latin word ars, which means ability or skill. Now, although it's very difficult to define what really art is, there have been, of course, assumptions of what it is. And now we have here three. First is that art is experience. Next, art is not nature. And third, art is beauty. The first assumption or definition of art is that it is experience. The definition of the word experience is that it is a process of doing and seeing things and having things happen to you. Experience, in short, is an encounter. An experience is personal or individual. Different people experience different things, or different people have different ways of encountering life, encountering occurrences. When an encounter happens, the perception is accompanied by emotions or emotional reaction. A psychologist and a philosopher named John Dewey actually wrote a book entitled Art as Experience. According to him, art is a powerful form of communication and expression. He explains that art is a dynamic human experience that involves both the artist and the audience. When the audience encounters an art, they are connecting with the artist's experiences and transforming the meaning of the art with their own. Did you get that? So when you encounter a piece of art, you are connecting with the artist's experience, and you transform the meaning of that art with your own experience. Dewey's idea is that the art lies in the experience that you have, an experience created through the artwork in collaboration with the artist. So you will be able to perceive art through your experiences. Okay? And it is in collaboration with the artist because it is the artist who created the piece or the artwork. This may be the experience of looking at a picture in an art gallery. It may also be just like when you are listening to a street musician or watching a film. Art is an everyday experience which ought not to be detached from daily life. Okay, so when you encounter a piece, an art piece, an artwork, you associate it with your life. And you are having a collaboration with the artist because you are having this kind of connection through a common experience. You wouldn't be able to really understand or appreciate a work of art if you yourself as an audience haven't experienced what the artist had experienced. I hope that you get that. Aesthetic judgments about the quality of the object have their place, but they should not be an obstacle to this experience. Okay, so that's the meaning of art as an experience. Okay, art is not a lifeless object. It is not simply a painting. It is not simply a sculpture. It is not simply an architectural design. It's not simply a melodious piece of music. It is actually a dynamic human experience. It is based on human existence, human experience, and it involves both the artist and the audience that views the art. Okay? When an artist creates art, he applies his own personal experiences to it, which also embodies his attitude, his perceptions, while he works on that subject, while he works on that piece of art. Okay? The artist considers how the audience will encounter the art and thus does not create an object, but an experience. Okay? So there are three key words when we try to understand this particular assumption or definition of the word art. We have the words experience, artist, and audience. Okay, and what encircles these three terms, I hope that you are imagining it, okay? What encircles these three terms, within the circle, those three terms are uh, encapsulated or enclosed. Yung circle is the word encounter. Okay, so it makes an artwork alive. It makes it an expression of human experience. Okay, one good example is this one by Edward Munch. He created the famous painting The Scream in 1893, and it is actually based on his personal experience. His narrative is this one. I was walking along the road with two friends. The sun set. I felt a tinge of melancholy. Suddenly, the sky became a bloody red. I stopped, leaned against the railing, dead tired, and I looked at the flaming clouds that hung like blood and a sword over the blue-black fjord and city. My friends walked on. I stood there, trembling with fright, and I felt a loud, unending scream piercing nature. This experience by Monk is very apparent in his painting. And I would assume that anybody who would look at this painting would definitely feel, or at least encounter the same experience that he had experienced. Because it's very clear in the painting. The fear, the unending scream, piercing nature, the melancholic mood is also very clear. in the painting. The chaotic emotions within the creator of this piece is also very visible in the painting, as seen in the choice of colors. Okay? Now, if you are perhaps a person who has not experienced, for example, loneliness, a person who has not experienced inner turmoil, most probably you wouldn't be able to relate to this painting. But for someone who has had challenges in life, who has had inner conflicts, this one is very relatable. Your interpretation of the piece would depend on how you would interact with it. It will also be based on your your schemata, your background knowledge, your experiences, your education, and so on and so forth. Second assumption or definition of art is that it is not nature or it is not real, simply because individual artists have their own very personal ways of seeing. Personal perceptions and feelings come into play. Art is not nature or is not real because it is an imitation of what is natural by an artist. Art, in short, is man-made. So therefore, the uh, the trees, the clouds, the vast oceans and plateaus that you are seeing in the environment, those will not be considered art in academics because those are natural things created by, so most of us would say God is the greatest artist, yes, but academically we cannot consider God as an artist because there has to be a man, a person who would interpret these natural things, who would encounter, who needs to encounter these natural things in order to translate it into a work of art. Okay, and when he or she or they translates this nature into an art piece or an artwork, his, her, their perceptions and other factors come into play. Okay, and those will definitely affect the output. So that's the meaning of art being not nature. It is supposed to be man-made. Okay, we're through with art is man-made, being an imitation of nature. We're done also with the explanation of the other assumption, which is art is experience. It tells the physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual experiences of the creator and the audience. The third assumption is that art is beauty. It provides aesthetic pleasure. Okay, so what makes art beautiful? Beauty in art can be difficult to put into words because of the lack of accurate language or meaning for the word beauty. Okay. However, beauty in terms of art refers to an interaction between line, color, texture, sound, shape, motion, and size that is pleasing to the senses. That's aesthetics. Aesthetics depends on how effectively the principles and the elements of art interact with one another in order to provide value, aesthetic value. Okay, so there has to be an effective interaction between those mentioned: color, sound, line, shape, etc., etc. Okay? A work of art may also be considered beautiful through the concept of value of taste. Taste depends on factors like class, culture, background, education, and so on of the person looking at the artwork. Now, what makes art beautiful is actually a very complicated concept, since beauty is, of course, subjective and can change based on context. However, there is a basic human instinct or internal appreciation for the harmony, the rhythm, which can be seen as beauty. Okay, we have this, it is believed that we have this inherent ability to really identify which looks beautiful and which does not look beautiful. Beauty in terms of art usually refers to the aesthetic value, to the pleasure provided by the harmony of the elements present in a work of art. Sometimes beauty is not the artist's ultimate goal. That is why we have what we call sometimes, or what we sometimes label, ugly artworks. Okay, and these artworks are often created with the intention to appeal to and connect with human emotion. So artists may express something so that their audience is stimulated in some way. Okay, they would want their audience to to feel things. Okay, to conceive things about, for example, religion. Okay, they want their audience to be curious, to be interested, okay, to recall memories, okay, and to feel creative, and so on and so forth. Okay, for example, performance art often does not aim to please the audience, but instead evoke feelings. Okay, evoke reactions, conversations, or questions sometimes from the viewer. Okay, in these cases, for artworks which do not provide pleasure, aesthetics may be an irrelevant measure of beautiful art. Now we move on to the levels of art appreciation. We, as the artist's audience, interact with a work of art. We experience it. It's been mentioned a while ago. Thus, we recreate what is presented to us. We see art because there is interaction. We perceive and understand art because we connect with the experience of the artist. And we recreate the experience of the artist through our own experiences. When genuine interaction happens, we become delighted in the arts through our senses. Our enjoyment can increase in two levels. Level 1 is understanding, level 2 is feeling. Okay? Parang ano lang yan eh. For example, we like a person because the person looks pleasing in the eyes. Maganda, pogi. O kaya naman, not so physically attractive, but he, she, or they has this set of characteristics that makes them attractive. Okay, and when we start enjoying this person's presence, we begin understanding the person. Okay, nalalaman na natin yung name, complete name, cell phone number, what else? Favorite color, favorite food, interests, and so on and so forth. Eventually, feelings develop. So, it's a metaphor to explain genuine interaction with a work of art. When we interact with a work of art, our delight, our enjoyment, okay, increases in two levels. First, we begin to understand the work of art, and then eventually we start feeling things based on our understanding of the piece. Next is the artistic process. This is the artistic process. First, the artist interacts with an experience or a subject. Okay. Next, the artist translates the interaction into a medium. So what is a medium? Arts media, plural of medium, are the materials and tools used by an artist, composer, or designer to create a work of art. For example, in literature, pen and ink. Okay, where the pen is the tool and the ink is the material. And then the next step is that the elements of the medium are used to produce the finished work. Example, Matsuo Basho, when he created his famous haiku about a frog leaping into a pond, he sat down near a pond and there he witnessed the action of the frog leaping into the pond and the action creating movements in the water. So Matsuo Basho wouldn't be able to actually write down uh, an effective haiku if he did not experience, if he did not interact with that particular encounter. So through the encounter that he interacted with, he was able to choose effectively the medium that he would use in order to create the finished work. What are the elements in the artistic process? Of course, an artwork will not just simply appear in front of you because it's supposed to be man-made. Remember? Okay, so since it's supposed to be man-made, there has to be someone who would interact with an experience or a subject. Okay, this particular man may have a natural capacity or a talent to create an artwork, or if he, she, or they does not possess this set of skills that can help him, her, they create an artwork, this person may enhance the skill through motivation and training. Okay, so element number one is artist, and then of course, there is no artwork if there is no output work. Okay, through the equipment, tools, materials, the medium. So these are the elements in the artistic process. Okay, we need a person because art is supposed to be man-made. It's not natural. And there has to be an output through the chosen medium. Before we move on to the next item in the outline, let us first, allow me first to differentiate the two terms, artist and artisan. Okay, I suppose that you have encountered already this term, artisan. Okay, is there a difference between the two, or are they the same? So here is a very brief comparison for you to understand the difference, the fine line that differentiates or that separates the two. The term artist is somewhat an elitist view, categorizing the fine arts. Fine arts is for aesthetic pleasure. Okay, so an artist is someone who creates for pleasure only, for aesthetics. Okay, it's considered an artist is a person who creates high art. On the other hand, or in contrary, an artisan is a functional utilitarian art or creates a functional utilitarian art. Artisans are trained in folk traditions and they are practitioners and they are also seen as craftsmen or artisans. Their works are done by hand and in small quality. Furthermore, an artist creates art. An artisan creates craft. Okay, but there is actually a debate about this. They say that an artist can also, of course, create crafts. An artisan can also be an artist. Okay, so you be the judge. So what is art? An art is a unique way of expressing someone's emotions and desires in a visual manner. In comparison, craft is a creative way of making creative things by hand. Art is unique and more personal, therefore it cannot be reproduced or duplicated because it's unique, it's more personal. based on the artist's experiences, emotions, desires. In contrary, a craft may be reproduced by another having the same talent by following the same style of the particular craft work. So it may be copied. Art depends on the innate talent of a person. For a craft to be produced, talent and skill need to be well groomed and molded with experience according to the particular style. Art is an expression of emotions, and it is the core. These two are the core. Or this is the core rather. The expression of emotions is the core of creating an artwork. The core in creating a craft is the creative output out of something made by hand. Art has more of an emotional value, while craft has an attractive and creative value. Okay, so may be reproduced. It's unique. Okay, it cannot be reproduced or nor copied. It depends on the talent. This one, the talent or the skill has to be groomed or molded. For art, it is an expression of emotions. Well, this one is expression of skills, okay? And the output matters, and it's supposed to be made by hand. An artwork has an emotional value, while craft is more attractive and creative. Okay? Examples. Now please see part 2 for the continuation of this lesson.